Last week it was announced that the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is going to come to Washington and do a joint session of Congress at the invitation of the Republican Speaker of the House. Many people are saying this is a rebuttal of your arguments about negotiations with Iran, or the possible deal with Iran. Do you think it's appropriate for him to come in this manner at this time to Washington?
Well, I'll let Mr. Boehner answer that, and Mr. Netanyahu. I speak with Prime Minister Netanyahu all the time. We're declining to meet with him. I'm declining to meet with him simply because our general policy is we don't meet with any world leader 2 weeks before their election. I think that's inappropriate, and that's true with some of our closest allies. David Cameron, who's got an election coming up, recently came to visit because we insisted that if he wants to come, and it was a very important meeting, he needs to be far away enough from the election that it doesn't look like in some ways we're meddling or putting our thumbs on the scale. To the broader issue, Fareed, I don't think there's been any rebuttal of my argument. I haven't heard a persuasive rebuttal of my argument that we crafted very effective sanctions against Iran specifically to bring them to the negotiations table to see if we could resolve the Iranian nuclear issue through diplomatic means. By all accounts, including the accounts of Israeli intelligence, Iran has abided by the terms of this interim agreement. They have not advanced their nuclear program. They have actually rolled back their stockpiles of highly enriched uranium. And so we have lost nothing during this period of negotiations. Iran's program has not advanced. And we have the chance of providing a mechanism where we can verify that Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon and Iran has the ability over time to re-enter the community of nations as a responsible player. Now, I don't know that we're going to be able to get that done. But my argument is for the United States Congress to insist on imposing new sanctions that all our partners, as well as the Iranians, can interpret as a violation of the interim agreement. For us to undermine diplomacy at this critical time, for no good reason, is a mistake. And that what we need to do is to finish up this round of negotiations, put the pressure on Iran to say yes to what the international community is calling for. And what's been remarkable is the unity we've been able to maintain in the P5+1, even with Russia, given all the strains that we have with them, China, which obviously has a great hunger for Iranian oil, we've still been able to maintain that unity, which shows how effective our diplomats have been. And if, in fact, we don't get a deal, make sure that it's the Iranians' fault because they couldn't say yes to a reasonable deal. And so I haven't heard a good counter-argument yet. I will veto legislation if it comes up that imposes additional sanctions. And, by the way, what I've said to members of Congress and what I've said to the Israelis is the day after Iran walks away from a reasonable deal, the easiest thing for me to do in Congress is pass additional sanctions against Iran. It would take about 2 days for me to be able to sign a bill like that. So we have the ability to exert additional pressure, but it's important for us to show that we've exhausted every possible avenue of diplomatic resolution.